Good afternoon and welcome to Biztech's Asian Midday Market Watch, powered by Rajhi Bank, Malaysia. Lee Kian Soon, CEO of Astral Asset Management in Singapore, is our guest today. Kian Soon, great to have you on the show again.
Good afternoon. Great to be on the show.
Now, Kian Soon, before we get your insights, let's take a look and see how crypto markets are performing right now. Bitcoin is at 19,467.6. It's down 2.86%. BNB is at 219.5. It's up 0.5%. And Ethereum is at 1,048.34. It's down 3.93%. Now, looking across to Asia Pacific stock exchanges, markets in Hong Kong are closed today for a holiday. And we look across then to the KLSC, which is which is up 0.46%. Shanghai is down 0.24%. The ASX All Ordinaries is up 0.19%. The Nikkei is down 1.78%. The Hang Seng is down 0.62%. And rounding up the numbers, we've got the Kospi, which is down 1.42%. Now, Kian Soon, what's your view on market performance this morning?
I think the market performance this morning, if you look at Korea, Japan, they are mirrors in what's happening in Wall Street last night, and continues to struggle to perform as it's a very tough market environment for the last few months.
Now, Kian Soon, today is the 1st of July. Could you give us a recap of the first half of 2022, which today there was a headline, I think on CNBC that said the worst in 50 years.
I think time flies for 2022 and, blink an eye, we are now on the second half, first day of the second half, and the first half of the year for the markets is a period where I think most traders or anyone in the market likes to forget. I think if you look at the CNBC report, it's true, since 1970, S&P 500 has not declined more than 20% in one half of the year, and now we are seeing it happening in 2022. And let us not forget, Nasdaq has actually crashed 30% this year for the first half of this year. So it's definitely not a good operating environment for anyone in the markets, as we see that even Asia Pacific markets and the European markets are not spared. And I think this is due to mainly three factors. One is the inflation and rising interest rate environment we have in the United States. Secondly, we are seeing the ongoing war in Ukraine and Russia, and that causes a lot of strain in terms of commodity prices and fuel prices, and that drags down the markets in the European side mainly. And then last but not least, in Asia, China being the economic powerhouse has almost grind to a stop in the second quarter of 2022 because of its COVID-0 measures, where a lot of factories, a lot of people are actually locked down in their homes.
Now, looking ahead, Kian Soon, what does the second half of the year look like through your lens?
I definitely like to be more positive, but it seems that a lot of these macro events are going to continue to drag down on the market. Specifically, I think the Ukraine-Russia war is going to be a war attrition. It might not end as quickly as people have anticipated, and these will continue to have a drag on fuel prices, commodity prices, and European economies in particular. In the second half, we might, witness a more intense slowdown in the economies of European countries, leading to a stagflation. Secondly, I think for the inflation and rising interest rates, we know that Fed is trying to increase interest rates almost on a monthly basis so as to fight inflation. This will continue in the second half of 2022, and the markets are definitely not going to like that, because with rising interest rates, the tech stocks don't perform well. We also hear that the demands for tech products have come down as people goes back to work. All this don't look good for all the tech heavy Nasdaq constituents, etc. If you ask me if there is a silver lining in the whole world, I think it will be Asia, because Asia's economies are more tied to China. We have seen the reopening of the China economies as the COVID-0 measures have come to a close. We're seeing that the factories numbers are surging up. The factory production numbers are increasing. We are seeing that the service numbers are increasing as the economies reopen and people are coming out to spend money.
Okay, Kian Soon, I have a different side of the coin to ask you about, which is really the fact that the interest rate spreads are widening from the US and Asian economies. How do you think that's going to impact Asia, particularly given the fact that we've seen this movie 3 decades ago?
Yes, this widening spread of interest rates always leads to a pressure on Asian currencies, especially in economies that are not well stocked up and where their balance sheets are very weak. I think there is a concern that if the amount of debt levels in some of these countries are too high, it will cause a problem like what we witnessed almost 22 years ago during the Asia financial crisis. But let us not forget the balance sheets of most Asian countries. Unlike 22 or 25 years ago, these days the balance sheets are stronger. But having said so, the currencies are still at risk given the widening spread of the interest rates. And we will see a lot of the Asian central banks playing catch up and at the same time have to cope and balance with the fact that if you increase your interest rate too quickly, you might slow down your economy, which leads to an economic slowdown and recession risk.
Now, one of the risks that there are in Asia right now, particularly in ASEAN, is the issue of food security and food prices. How do you think that impacts the juggling act that central banks and governments have to play, especially with regards to rates?
I think when it comes to food securities, I think if you look at ASEAN countries, Malaysia, Indonesia are in a better positions because they're net food exporters. The more vulnerable ones includes Philippines, right? And as well as Singapore, which because we don't have sufficient sources of food. I think the best approach to deal with this currently is definitely to diversify your source of food and suppliers as much as possible. So you are never held hostage if other countries don't sell a certain type of food to your country, for instance. Trying to manage the currency at the same time to address this issue might not be the best open market approach. As you know, suppliers change their mind. You could always get additional alternatives from other sources. And all you need to do, I think most countries will have to look it up, is in order to make sure that the prices are maintained at a sustainable basis, is to look for more sources of suppliers.
Now, Kian Soon, as always, thank you very much for coming on the show and thank you very much for your insights.
You're most welcome.
Now, we've been speaking to Lee Kian Soon, CEO of Astral Asset Management out of Singapore, on Biztech's Asian Midday Market Watch, powered by Rajhi Bank Malaysia. I'm Brian Fernandez. This video and podcast will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as Rajhi Bank's social media platforms. Please like and subscribe to our various platforms. Thanks again for tuning in.